Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine has sparked bipartisan condemnation across Arizona's delegation.
We spoke to Russian expats here in Arizona about the challenges they're facing as their native country makes headlines.
And did you know that the discovery of Pluto happened right here in Arizona? Later, we'll have more on how the dwarf planet's anniversary is being celebrated.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Fatma Abed.
And I'm Raven Payne. Thank you for joining us.
Last night, Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin authorized the start of a special military operation and announced the operation was meant to demilitarize Ukraine. Air and missile attacks have been reported throughout the country since Putin's announcement, and 40 Ukrainian soldiers have been reported dead since. Russian forces have also seized control of the Chernobyl nuclear plant. With the conflict likely continuing, Ukrainian residents are now fleeing the capital city of Kyiv. President Joe Biden addressed the nation about the attacks earlier today.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time.
Biden also discussed sanctions imposed on Russian banks and freezes on Russian assets in America. Other world leaders have also condemned the actions of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Arizona's congressional delegation and members of the Ukrainian community here were swift to react to the news out of Kiev. Faith Abercrombie tells us there is a shared sense of urgency.
Ukrainian communities in Arizona and all over the world are grieving and urging Congress to take action not only for their country, but for their family.
My godson and his father got enlisted in the army, and he was a baby. I held it, and he is now 24. He is proud Ukrainian, and he is going to risk his life, and I'm praying that he come back alive.
At an infrastructure event this morning, Congressman Greg Stanton took a moment to talk about the Ukraine crisis. He says America will lead the world in taking action. However, it will take every country to get the message across.
You don't invade another sovereign nation. We are going to stand strong, and we are going to make sure that Vladimir Putin knows that the world is against what he has done.
Other members of Arizona's delegation agree. Democratic Congressman Tom O'Halloran released a statement that says in part, Congress must continue to support the Ukrainian people and our NATO allies, especially those who border Russia, through increased military aid. And Republican Congresswoman Debbie Lesko tweeted, "We must never forget these heinous acts and must respond swiftly with the highest levels of sanctions." Olena Melnik has family members in Ukraine. She says it will take more than just sanctions to protect and stand for the Ukrainian people.
We want to ask all Democrats and Republicans to stand together in this resistance against Russian aggression in all possible ways, political, diplomatical, financial, humanitarian aid. If we will not resist, the history shows we all will suffer.
In Tempe, Faith Abercrombie, Cronkite News.
The Ukrainian Cultural Center in Phoenix will hold a demonstration to show solidarity with Ukraine this Sunday afternoon. The public is invited to attend the peaceful march.
Many here in Arizona are watching with special interest as events unfold in Ukraine. Russian natives who have made their homes in the valley for decades have been watching too, and worrying for their friends back home. Alexia Stanbridge has more on this story from our Washington bureau.
It's been years since Paul Anseliovich moved away from Moscow, and since Nikolai Ryasnyavsky left behind both the big city and the Russian small town where he grew up. But the years and the miles have not made the events of recent weeks easier for them to watch.
It's painful, to see this unnecessary tension between our countries.
Both men still have family and friends in Russia, where Ryasnyavsky says the people are, quote, sick and tired.
Okay, it's a huge political game. Unfortunately, a lot of people, going to pay
As a Russian American, Ansilyovich says the invasion of Ukraine has left him embarrassed for his native land.
It's very sad, to be honest, and I feel, to be honest, I kind of feel ashamed, so because it shouldn't happen, really.
Their friends and neighbors in Arizona know of their heritage, but both men said that has not been an issue. And if people did ask, they would have a response to what President Joe Biden today called Putin's war.
There's nothing to defend. I'm against those actions. I always defend Russian people, though.
Ansilyovich says the most common reaction from his Arizona neighbors has not been animosity, but curiosity. What both say is one of the things they appreciate about the United States.
That's the kind of a distinctive part of the United States, attitude, people in the United States, yeah.
While both still value their Russian heritage, Ansilyovich visits family and friends in Russia yearly. There's no question this is their home now. Risnyavsky, a real estate agent, moved in 1992, and Ansilyovich, a pediatrician, came to the United States in 1998, and both say they enjoy their lives in Arizona.
I've been lucky to experience life there, lucky to experience life here, look at my life from a different perspective. It's absolutely unique experience.
In Washington, Alexia Stambridge, Cronkite News.
Before they came to Arizona, Ansilyovich lived in Los Angeles and Risnyavsky lived in Seattle. Both men told us they came to the U.S. for the most American of reasons. They saw better opportunity in the new world than in their own. Changing gears now, less Americans are filing for unemployment. The amount of people collecting unemployment benefits fell to historic lows this month. The Labor Department says jobless claims last week decreased to 232,000. That's down by 17,000, while the 4-week average, which takes into account changes from week to week, fell to just over 236,000. According to the government, just under 1.5 million Americans collected unemployment the first week of February. They say that's the lowest number since March 14, 1970, almost 52 years ago.
Coming up, Maricopa Ambulance is teaming up with a local community college. How you can take the first step in becoming an EMT for free.
And a storm yesterday brought rain and snow to many parts of Arizona. We'll take a look at the fresh powder left behind.
Cronkite News is more than your local news station. Through our innovative ideas, we create new ways to connect with our viewers and have their stories be heard. Our cutting-edge technology allows us to take a deeper dive into seeking the truth and delivering new perspectives. Stay up to date on top Arizona stories anytime on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook at Cronkite News.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
The Phoenix Fire Department swore in Mike Duran III as fire chief this week. The ceremony took place at the Phoenix Fire Regional Training Academy. Duran is now the second Hispanic chief of the Phoenix Fire Department. He comes from a firefighter background, with his father having served as Phoenix Fire Assistant Chief. His two brothers are also currently serving in the department. Duran now replaces Kara Kalkbrenner, who was the first female fire chief in the history of the city of Phoenix, according to a Phoenix Fire Department press release.
If you've been considering a career change, this story may be for you. Maricopa Ambulance is taking steps to make becoming an EMT easier. They're teaming up with Glendale Community College to offer an EMT training class for free with a 2-year commitment to the company. According to their website, the 8-week program begins on March 7th and requires 40 hours per week. They're also going to pay you during that time. Anyone interested in learning more about the program can visit maricopaambulance.com for more info and a list of requirements.
You probably recall the chilly temps and rain in the valley throughout much of the day yesterday, but parts of the state even saw snow. Here you're looking at the slopes at Arizona's Snow Bowl in Flagstaff. Some areas of the state saw over a foot of snow. According to the National Weather Service, Williams received 15.5 inches and the Flagstaff Airport saw just over a foot. Heber and Prescott Valley both got 5 inches of fresh powder.
With some snow-capped mountains and leftover rain puddles, the valley may be looking for things to warm back up. Faith Abercrombie has the latest forecast from the Cronkite News Weather Center.
Not only is the valley waiting for things to warm up, but I think the rest of the country can relate. Look at all this blue we have going on. Now, don't let Phoenix fool you. We're going to get to those 80-degree temperatures, but not quite yet. Now, as we take a look at our low temperatures for tomorrow all across the state, blue everywhere. Usually we're talking about northern Arizona. Of course, they're in those chilly degree temperatures, looking at 12 degrees up in Flagstaff with all of that snow up there. But look ahead at the valley. We have 43 degrees as our low temperature here in Phoenix tomorrow, but things will warm up. I promise you guys. As we go into our evening tonight, maybe bring a jacket to dinner. We're going to be going into those 40-degree temperatures, a little bit of a wind, but nothing too breezy. And as we take a look into our 8-day forecast, we'll have some of those clouds start to disappear as we go into that weekend. And as we go into the beginning of next week, things will start heating up on Monday with 78 degrees, and we'll go into those 80-degree temperatures with 82 on Tuesday and 86 on Wednesday, 85 on Thursday, and 79 on Friday. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Faith Abercrombie.
We'll have your Cronkite Sports Report coming up after the break. I'm Andrew Kurland, and we'll hear from a former Major League pitcher who was a part of the last MLB work stoppage 26 years ago. His thoughts on the current lockout up next.
Cronkite News is more than your local news station. Through our innovative ideas, we create new ways to connect with our viewers and have their stories be heard. Our cutting-edge technology allows us to take a deeper dive into seeking the truth and delivering new perspectives. Stay up to date on top Arizona stories anytime on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook at Cronkite News.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing. Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Here we go. Lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Andrew Kurland, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. Spring training is on hold for the MLB, but minor league camps have begun this week, including for some of the Diamondbacks' top prospects. Outfielder Alek Thomas was among the players working out at Salt River Fields. Thomas was a second-round pick out of high school in the 2018 draft. He moved from AA to AAA to finish off last season in Reno. Thomas says his experience in the minors has helped him overcome adversity in the batter's box.
During June and July, learning about how to deal with struggling at the plate against really good pitchers in AA, and just learning how they're gonna pitch me and how am I gonna change, how am I gonna adjust.
Meanwhile, it seems major league owners and players are still far apart in negotiations to reach a new deal. Cronkite News reporter Michael Garaffa sat down with the former major league pitcher who lived through the last work stoppage 26 years ago.
With spring training postponed and Major League Baseball on hold, fans are wondering when the lockout will end. It's the first work stoppage for the league in 26 years. Former Major League pitcher Joe Borowski pitched for 12 seasons and led the American League in saves in 2007. He remembers the feeling of the 1994-95 strike as a young hopeful on the verge of his Major League debut.
I'm like, outstanding. First time in the big leagues is going to be great. And sure enough, I think it was August 12th. Lockout, strike.
One of the main topics of discussion regarding the current lockout is the financial interests of young players.
I think the most before I was on the 40-man was maybe $1,100 a month. It's tough to live on.
Borowski, who now coaches baseball at Notre Dame Preparatory High School, says pay for minor leaguers hasn't changed much since he played.
I mean, there was a lot of road trips where you're getting a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter, and that's what you're eating, aside from what you eat at the field.
While not all minor leaguers are part of the players' union, those on the 40-man roster are covered under the collective bargaining agreement. The union is fighting to get those younger players more money earlier in their careers and base their salary on performance from the start rather than waiting for the requisite service time.
Guys I hear nowadays are not lasting as long in the minor leagues because they just can't do it financially. When I was playing, you had guys who were career minor leaguers. They were there 10, 11 years in the minor leagues, and then lo and behold, they finally get their shot and they get a few years in the big leagues.
Borowski is hopeful the two sides will strike a deal soon, perhaps as early as mid-March.
I don't think it's going to last very long because when you come to brass taxes and you're getting close to the season starting and money's not coming in, there's no revenue, I think both sides will give a little bit and hopefully come out of this.
Until then, the clock is ticking on the 2022 campaign. In Phoenix, Michael Garaffa, Cronkite News.
The Suns will make their return to the court following the All-Star break tonight when they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they'll be without star point guard Chris Paul, as he is expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a thumb fracture. Backup point guard Cam Payne is also still out with a wrist injury, but there's good news. Landry Shamet returns to action tonight. The team currently leads the NBA with 48 wins and now has to hold off the Golden State Warriors for that #1 seed in the West. This month, the University of Arizona Athletics Department looked towards their athletes to help bring their Black History merchandise to life. Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Zinti went to Tucson to catch a glimpse of the new attire.
When you walk into the A store this February, you might recognize some familiar faces. The University of Arizona Athletics Department partnered with volleyball players Simone Overbeck and Elena Johnson to bring their Black History Month merchandise to life, all while donating part of the proceeds to African American Student Affairs.
Donating part of the proceeds to African American Affairs, I think that's really important, and it allows us to come together and, wear the same shirts together and support the same cause.
The shirts are printed with a silhouette of a wildcat filled with symbols and references that have meaning to the African American community.
Music is featured prominently. Johnson grew up with her uncle who owned an array of instruments and always dreamed of starting a family band.
The things that stood out to me were the different instruments on it, because I love playing music and I play the drums actually, and there is like a drum set in the Cat, and just like how every different thing is put together in this big wildcat, showing that like we're all in this together.
You can find these shirts as well as other Black History Month merchandise at the university's bookstore located in Tucson or on their Amazon site. In Tucson, Lindsay Zinti, Cronkite News.
And some of the players on the men's basketball team will be wearing those shirts tonight as the second-ranked Wildcats are back in action against Utah. These last couple of weeks are critical for Arizona as they look to secure the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Well, that's all I've got for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Raven, Fatma, back to you.
The dwarf planet Pluto was discovered right here in Arizona almost 100 years ago. Stick with us to learn more about its local discovery and the anniversary the planet is celebrating today.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing. Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Here we go. Lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
92 years ago, Pluto was discovered at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, using telescopes, cameras, and comparing images side by side. Nick Shesky went to the observatory to hear about how some of the science behind astronomy has changed, while some still remains the same.
In the early 20th century, astronomers knew there was something out there, and even though they couldn't see it, they could see the effect of its gravity on the planet Uranus.
It wasn't moving like it should. Based on its size and its location and everything, it seemed to be wobbling some in its orbit. And scientists figured there must be another planet out there whose gravity is pulling on it, causing it to wobble.
The wobbling led to the discovery of Neptune, but scientists quickly realized Uranus was wobbling too much for just one planet to be the cause. That started the race to discover the mysterious 9th planet.
Percival Lowell and Clyde Tombaugh searched for Pluto by taking photos of a certain section of the night sky and looking at every single planet, star, dot, speck of dust on those photos and how they moved from one day to the next.
It was really tedious work. You had to pay attention. If you missed one change in position relative to the other, you missed it.
Schlinder says Clyde Tombaugh would sit in the frigid dome at night with the telescope staring and taking photos of a section of the sky that he hoped Pluto might be in.
They began by looking where Percival Lowell thought a planet might be, and it turns out that's where Pluto was found, even though in hindsight we know that Percival Lowell was looking for a really big planet and Pluto is really small. They didn't find the planet he thought was there, they just happened to find Pluto.
Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto on February 18, 1930. The basic fundamentals of curiosity, discovery, and sitting and staring through a telescope still reign supreme in astronomy today.
A lot does remain the same after 92 years. Fortunately, we have computers and we have better detectors. We don't use photographic plates anymore, and that helps a lot. We can see fainter objects in the solar system. We have larger telescopes, but the fact that you have to be precise and have attention to detail is something that's never changed.
Astronomers have discovered hundreds of new planets, stars, and galaxies since 1930. And even if Pluto is no longer classified as a planet, Alden Tombaugh, the son of Clyde Tombaugh, considers his father one of the building blocks of modern discovery.
It was kind of like he was one of the bricks of the foundation. So was Percival Lowell, very much so, when he started the observatory here. So that whole get-together of science, planetary discovery, planetary search is extremely important.
Astronomers keep making amazing discoveries every year, and maybe someday a scientist like Tombaugh will discover a ninth and a half planet in our solar system. In Flagstaff, Nick Shesky, Cronkite News.
The Lowell Observatory says it will continue to celebrate Pluto's discovery every year until the 100th anniversary in 2030.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.